My freshman year of college, I received several bids to fraternities. And the two that I took seriously, one of which was a social fraternity that was relatively known for drinking, a lot of parties. But the other bid that I got was for a Christian fraternity. And as you can imagine, their reputation is far different. I chose to go ahead and pledge the Christian fraternity. And I think when I was a freshman in college, folks were a little leery of me because they thought that I wasn't capable of taking things seriously. Can you believe that? Nonsense. Apparently, I had a reputation that year of being... I had the hunch that the guys in the fraternity didn't really care for me much. I think maybe they saw me as being one of those other fraternities that they were trying hard to differentiate themselves from, because they weren't partying all the time, because they didn't want a reputation for being reckless people and womanizers or things of that nature that some other groups had a reputation for. And I think maybe they were afraid that that's what I was going to be like. And so there were a few guys that I think made it clear they didn't much care for me and weren't really sure if they wanted me in the group. And I tell you that because there was also a tradition of that fraternity and the friends of that fraternity that generally hung out at that house to go every Tuesday night to a pizza parlor in the neighboring town. It was about a 20-minute drive, I'd say. Is that right? So about 20 minutes to get out there. And I had piled into the car with a number of people that I really liked, and we drove out there, and I had to use the restroom. So I go and I used the restroom, and by the time I came out of the restroom, the whole place was empty. And I thought, they're just playing a trick on me. This is just a prank. And so I open up the front. There was like a little lobby area with 2 doors, and I open it up, and I'm like, ah! And nobody was there. So I opened up the front door out into the parking lot where people generally gathered before they left and hung out and talked for a while. And I said, ha! And nobody was there. And I walked back inside. I didn't have a cell phone that worked at the time. And I walked back inside and I said, can I use your phone? And they said, where are you calling? I told them where I was calling, and they said, that's out of the area. You can't use our phone. And so I said, well, can somebody, there were like 4 people left in a little bar area, and I said, is anybody willing to give me a ride? And apparently nobody really wanted to drive somebody 20 minutes out of their way and drive 20 minutes back. So yeah, if you notice the cover of the bulletin, you'll see where this story is going. I began walking. It was a cold night. I had to walk straight uphill in the snow with no shoes. I made up that part. I walked a long, long way. I was hours into a walk, and I started hitchhiking. And the truck that stopped to pick me up, an old-looking truck, kind of rusted out, sort of beat up, and the guy poked his head out the window and offered me a ride. He had a great big old beard and a shirt that seemed as if it hadn't ever been, well, taken off, much less washed. And he said, I got back to the house, and the sun was coming up at this point, and I fell asleep on the couch in the living room of the fraternity house. And one by one, they started rolling out of bed and waking me up and asking me what I was doing there. And remember, at this point, I thought they'd done this to me because they didn't like me. I thought they were trying to get rid of me. I thought they were sending me a pretty clear message. I'm glad, though, that I didn't pay attention to that instinct, because I think it was wrong, and they ended up being some of my best friends. And in times that I was in trouble, they ended up being the people that were there for me. The scripture is about acceptance, needing to be accepted, and that in a community of God, everybody's accepted. And I think that was my experience. That was the lesson that I got. Because I made some judgments. I made judgments about the person that picked me up. I made judgments about the people in the fraternity. What I discovered was, even with my own fears and anxieties, I was accepted in that group. And I learned that sometimes accepting an invitation isn't as easy as it sounds. So I think in relation to the banquet that God has prepared for us, both in heaven and then our community here on earth, those things all apply. The invitation is not as simple as it sounds, right? God's offering us grace. And It's our choice. Are we going to accept that bid and pledge that fraternity, as it were? Or are we going to allow something about this world to tell us not to?